Well, that explains something. Some of you noticed in the comments. Yeah, that film was Italian, and so that film was whacked out. Unfortunately, the copy that we have, we scanned, is not didn't have a soundtrack. So I'm gonna have to find that film, because I if the soundtrack is as nearly as wacky as the visuals, man, we're in for a ride. Okay, so what do we got? I'm Skip Alzheimer. We're watching old 16mm films on the AV Geeks 16mm lunch, and you guys are there watching. This next film is about a crisis in Korea. Enjoy.
1945, the Japanese surrender aboard the... At the subsequent Potsdam Conference, a decision is made on Korea. The 38th parallel is carelessly accepted as a dividing line between the agricultural territory of South Korea and the industrial area of the North. South Korea is occupied by American troops, the North by a Russian army. Long oppressed Koreans cheer the promise of independence and unity. In August 1948, a free election is supervised by the United Nations. However, only the South Koreans vote. The Soviet government forbids any voting in North Korea, the area under its iron fist. With this division of North and South Korea, the fuse is set to the powder keg. The blow falls on June 25th without warning. In a six-pronged drive, the North Korean Communist armies sweep south across the border. The defending forces of the Republic, poorly equipped to stop armored spearheads, begin a series of retreats. If this is a Moscow-inspired test of democratic determination to fight aggression, the men of the Kremlin soon have their answer.
The fact that communist forces have invaded Korea is a warning that there may be similar acts of aggression in other parts of the world. Free nations must be on their guard, more than ever before, against this kind of sneak attack.
The Security Council of the United Nations is called into an emergency meeting at Lake Success by the Secretary General Trygve Lie.
The present situation is a serious one and is a threat to international peace. The Security Council is, Mr. President, in my opinion, the competent organ to deal with it. I consider it the clear duty of the Security Council to take steps necessary to re-establish peace in that area.
A resolution calling upon the authorities of Northern Korea to issue an immediate ceasefire order and recall the invading armies is carried 9-0, with Yugoslavia abstaining and the seat of the Russian delegate empty. The order ignored, General of the Armies Douglas MacArthur is appointed Supreme Commander of United Nations forces, furnishing assistance to the Republic of Korea, and he is presented with the flag of the UN, the first use of this banner in a police action to restore peace. The first American ground troops to reach Korea from Japan, 1 battalion of the 24th Division. Outnumbered, outgunned, American boys untrained for combat fight courageously but cannot even slow up the invaders. And then a clean wind sweeps across America. Tired of defeats, blunder, and appeasements, a nation is revived by the bold acceptance of the Russian challenge. Out on the Pacific coast, one of the Navy's escort carriers is swiftly taken out of mothballs and made ready for sea. A full complement of fighting men go aboard. An American fleet, supported by units of the British Pacific Fleet, steams toward Korea to patrol the coasts. Another Army transport discharges troops at Pusan, vital port of entry on the southeast coast of Korea. The men are drawn from the 8th Army of Occupation in Japan. General Walton H. Walker of the 24th Division constantly tries to plug the gaps in a long, thin defense line. Major General William F. Dean on the right is reported missing. His troops outnumbered, outgunned, out-tanked, but they do buy time. Time to get reinforcements to prevent a Korean Dunkirk. An unprepared America is rushing aid with all speed, spurred to action by the daily news of defeats, of always falling back in Korea. On a field in Arizona, B-29s sealed in plastic are prepared again to fly bombing missions as the Air Force calls trained reservists into active duty. Superfortresses based on Guam are the first to move in toward North Korean skies with orders to disrupt transportation, wreck flying fields. They pick a target and lay their eggs, and enemy back areas take a pounding. But there are not enough of them yet for a saturation job. And now the carrier Valley Forge speeds toward Korea with her jets warming up for the takeoff. In one series of strikes, rocket-firing naval planes, jets from the Valley Forge, and British Seafire fighters from the carrier Triumph hit airfields and North Korean communications near the communist capital of Pyongyang. The American Army believes that the best way to stop a tank is with another tank. But the tanks they have in Korea are no match for Russian armor, and the big howitzers try to take over the job. Pusan, vital southeast seaport, now sees men and supplies pouring in with the realization that this is no police action, but a major war. More men for the United Nations forces come ashore, and on the Korean roads, the rumble of tanks is heard. Meanwhile, units of the Far Eastern Fleet pound communist positions that are within range. Far from Main Street, USA, Frank, Bud, Max, Jake, and Salvatore, men you knew at high school or shop, face a threat to all of us. They are paying the price, buying time. The casualty lists begin to appear in America as this first hot flame of Russian-inspired aggression threatens a consuming conflagration. Washington's famed Pennsylvania Avenue echoes to the marching feet of United States Marines moving out. The determination on the faces of the men to fight for the right grips the emotions of those who watch them pass. In the granite hills and rice paddies of Korea, a glorious new chapter will be written in Marine Corps history. And there is always this symbol of sacrifice. There is always a woman left behind. With courage and with faith, because we carry in our hearts
a little spicy at the end. Yeah, Castle film. It seems like it's less of a recount of what happened and more of a, this is a rallying cry. Maybe this was something for war bonds. I don't know. This was a police action. Would there be police action bonds? I'm not sure. But yeah, interesting thing. It does seem to crank up the patriotism a lot on this one. All right. So I know that many of you that professionally sell carpets are looking for films about professionally selling carpets, and we just happen to have one set up here on the scanner. And surprisingly, I haven't seen this. I think I ordered a bunch on eBay. Like, somebody was selling a bunch of films about carpeting, and I was like, "Ooh, I'll buy this. I'll buy this," because I actually have some other really great films about carpeting. That I don't know why, but anyways, here is. Yeah, don't ask why when it comes to me collecting stuff, like, because it's a wild hair. It's who knows. Yeah, here is Professional Carpet Selling. It's part of a series. This is the introductory film. Enjoy.
So I told him I'd take the account. More money. And he came back with an offer. Hey, where's Joe? Oh, look at that.
What job is it doing? Supervisor?
The joke here? Yes, you did.
Hey, Ed, there you are. What's going on?
Oh, a little party.
Looks like you got a swell party.
Well, thank you, Jack. I'm glad you and Mary could come.
I tried to reach you yesterday. We want to recarpet the downstairs.
Well, great, Jack. Come by the store anytime. We just got in a great new line. Tough, durable nylons. Absolutely beautiful.
Terrific.
Well, I went back for their summer medical program. I felt I had to. It's the only way a decent doctor can keep up nowadays.
Now look at my company.
Yeah?
Over there, we've set up a tuition refund program. We actually pay our staff attorneys to go back to school for special studies.
Really?
Yes.
What's all this about school? Aren't you guys a little old for that?
Oh, you kidding? These days, you're only too old when you're retired. For some of us, that's sooner than we think.
Well, you certainly don't have to worry about that yet.
I know.
Well, I know what he means.
Oh, come on. Hey, what would you know? I thought selling was selling.
No, not at all. There's a lot going on in carpeting.
Oh, well, tell us about it, huh?
Just keeping up with new products is a full-time job.
Well, what does a salesman do if he feels he needs a little touching up?
Well, I read everything I can get my hands on.
Uh-huh.
Trade magazines, other publications. Talk to these salesmen every chance I get, and the mills and fiber companies keep us posted with product information. Still, there's no formal study opportunity I know of.
You haven't got a seminar? that you,
Excuse me, the Bennetts.
Well, you just met Ed Stevens. Ed's a guy who knows his business. He has to. Ed's business is selling carpet. He's good at it. And as you can see, he enjoys all the benefits of his success. His friends are also successful, very much on top of things. In fact, both Ed and his friends keep up with change. They know that you have to stay in touch to stay on top. But frankly, even for a guy like Ed, there are days when it's not easy.
Martini for you and olive for you, right?
Well, this is not the usual way that things get out of kilter for Ed. More often, it's something that happens on the job.
And that's why this will be such a good carpet for your summer home. Now, would you like to give me a check?
Well, I don't know. Don't rush me.
Excuse me for a moment. Good morning. May I help you? You know, this carpet is on sale today only.
I don't know.
Mrs. Morton, think what your friends will say when they see this carpet in your home.
I still don't know if it's right.
Well, let me tell you something more about it. It's 100% nylon, so it will last a long time. And it's been heat set.
What's that?
Well, that's a process to help the yarn keep its twist so it won't mat down.
Been having a lot of trouble with carpets that mat down lately, have you?
No. No, I just thought you'd like to know about that. It's also the latest fashion. And, not only that, this carpet has been made so that it will shade when you walk on it. Here, let me show you.
It's all uneven and blotchy.
Marie. Well, nobody bats 1,000. Not even Ed Stevens. But the fact is that 2 out of every 3 customers walk out of a carpet store and buy elsewhere. Now just think of the money that could be made if those lost customers were sold. Even a guy like Ed could use some help. And at this moment, Ed's boss is thinking the same thing. You see, Allied Chemical has just invited him to send some of his salespeople to Professional Carpet Selling, a program developed in cooperation with Xerox Learning Systems. And Xerox has developed highly successful programs for some of the largest selling organizations in the world. U.S. Steel, Johnson & Johnson, General Motors. Now, this particular program is geared to take a sales veteran with an already developed technique and fine-tune him. It can also train new salespeople to operate more effectively. Now, Ed, of course, is a pro, but Ed is the first to admit that now and then he would like to move a little faster when it counts. Ed Stevens, 36 years old, career carpet salesman, successful, moving ahead, perhaps slower than he'd like. But now we have the technology. We have the tools. We have the program. We can make him better. The Allied Chemical program makes selling more systematic, more professional than the usual hit-or-miss method. It speeds up the salesperson's natural growth by helping him to understand that his success lies in the satisfaction of customer needs. Now, the quicker that he can identify his customer's needs, the quicker he can demonstrate that his product can fill those needs. Thus, he makes the sale quicker and more often, using a few simple skills it might have taken years for him to develop on his own. The time that you spend with your customer is the most important time that you have. Now, in order to make the most of this time, you have got to have your selling skills in order. Now, this 2-part professional carpet selling program is designed to give you further insights and practice in the skills required to sell effectively. Now, during Unit 1, we'll work on probing. Probing is the art of uncovering customer needs while you continue to control the selling situation. Next, we'll work on supporting. Now, that means answering the need with a benefit. Now, that benefit might be of the product or of a service that you offer. After that, we'll deal with closing the sale and obtaining a commitment. Now, also during Unit 1, you are going to learn various techniques of controlling the conversation so you can make it more productive for yourself and for your customers. Now, during Unit 2, we are going to examine ways of properly approaching the customer and dealing with the customer's attitudes. Now, by attitudes, I mean like objections, skepticism, the doubts that your customer may have about the product or the services that you're offering. Now, let's talk about how we do this. Inside these kits that you all received, you'll find, first, these programmed instruction books. And these programmed instruction books present the basic skills that we're looking to develop here. You'll read about each skill and fill in the answers to the printed questions. Now, for example, probing. The skill of asking questions to uncover customer needs while controlling the direction of the conversation. And you'll check your answers by looking under the book's mask. On top of that, you will find these product profiles of 4 make-believe carpet styles, right? Okay. Now, in this program, you're going to learn by doing. Now, first thing you're going to do, you'll study each skill in the programmed instruction books, and then you'll practice each skill. Now, the way you'll practice is by participating in taped episodes, and these episodes have been taken from real sales situations. And finally, this is a good part, you're going to use the skills in a real lifelike role-play situation. Now, in the taped episodes, you'll practice each skill.
Karen, this is it. I mean it. This is the last store you're dragging me to. I'm starved.
For once, can't you forget your stomach? We've got to get this thing settled.
Shopping for carpets can be a real hassle. But I'd really like to help you find something you'll be happy with.
This guy's ready to walk. Dave better get to the point fast. Probe to find out what they need.
Number 3.
Oh, that's me. I'd ask him what he's really looking for. An open probe.
Since you want this couple to freely discuss their carpet needs, you should have made an open probe.
And you'll respond to sales situations similar to the ones that you face each day.
Look at that price. Come on, Karen. We're not going to find what we're looking for here. Sounds like price is a concern. You know what to do, Dave.
Number 4.
I'd use a closed probe. I'd ask him something like, sounds to me like price is a concern. Is that right?
You should have used a closed probe, such as...
Well, then you're concerned about price.
Now, in the role plays, you'll act out the part of either salesperson or customer in a simulated sales situation, and then the other members of the group will act as observer. Then we'll all discuss the role play when it's over. Now, by practicing your skills in this way, you'll be able to transfer the skills that you've learned into day-to-day practical use.
Hi, I'm Steve Burke. Nice day today, huh?
Hi. Yes, it is.
Now, what room in the house are you looking for carpet for today?
Well, the wall-to-wall carpeting in the living room, dining room area is at least 20 years old, and it's getting very worn out in places.
Well, when you replace worn-looking carpet, it helps to make a big improvement in the appearance of any room. Now, if we could just talk a bit about your needs and the effect you're trying to achieve, I'm sure I can help you find just the right thing.
Well, I just haven't seen anything I'd want to put in my house.
Yeah, well, how did you feel using the skills?
Well, not bad. Although I felt like I might have left something out, you know.
Oh. Yeah, I felt you didn't probe enough.
Yeah. Well, listen, how about you, Madam Customer? Did you think that he was probing your needs enough?
Well, my profile said I was supposed to make him try to get at my concern for finding just the right color, elephant gray. And until he did, I wasn't supposed to give him the buying signal.
Oh, yeah, she could.
And that's what you'll be doing. Programmed instruction, taped episodes, and role play. Together, they'll help you learn, practice, and apply your professional carpet selling skills. The program goes to the heart of retail carpet selling and its unique problems, sharpening basic skills and pointing the way to a more effective personal style. It benefits the salesperson and the store by reducing walkouts and thus increasing sales. And the consumer benefits, too, from an easier, more satisfying buying experience.
Right. Oh, that'll be terrific. Okay, so long.
Approach the customer.
Good morning. I'm Ed Stevens.
Well, hello.
Hello. Sheridan. Many of our customers who want to create a luxurious atmosphere found Sheridan to be an excellent choice.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I am looking for carpeting, of course. Oh,
Of course I am. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, I suppose.
Well, I'm sure we can help you. By the way, the islands must be wonderful at this time of year.
Well, how did you know? Oh, my tan. Yes, it is lovely. My son, he's a doctor, took me...
Redirect conversation.
Oh, wonderful.
Probe.
But about your carpeting, are you doing your living room something formal?
Oh, yes. Something very elegant and dignified. You see, we're really on the tastefully...
Now, support her need.
Ah, well, I agree with you. Carpeting for a formal living room should be tasteful and conservative.
I think so.
Yes, and Sheraton would be an excellent choice. There's a wide range of colors. What sort of colors do you prefer?
Oh, either dark brown or I like sky blue. You know, my son just got a van. They're all the rage these days. And he said it was blue, but when I went outside to look at it, it was purple. Oh, yes, you wouldn't believe the deal he got on it. You know, he's a doctor, Leroy is,
Yes.
and he loves to get away to the beach and to the mountains. His friend got him the deal on the van wholesale.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Vans are very popular nowadays.
Yes, they are.
We were discussing your carpeting. Tell me, are you redecorating an entire room or just doing the carpeting?
Oh, no, just the carpeting. I wouldn't part with my furniture for the world. We got that furniture when we were in Germany.
Really? How interesting.
Probe more.
Would you describe it to me?
Well, it's kind of Louis the 18th. Yes, that's lovely. Oh, yes, Leroy will really love that. You know, he comes over every Sunday afternoon, each time with a different girl. They all think I'm his sister. He's such a handsome devil. The girls are just crazy about him.
Okay, close.
Okay, now let's go over to the things we've talked about so far. Now, this carpet is a formal Saxony, just the right formal look for your living room. It's a stylish chocolate brown. Also, the other important thing we discussed, it's been heat set, so you won't have any problem with matting. And it comes with the ANSO full 5-year wear guarantee.
I like that.
Thank you. Now, would you like to give me a check for deposit, or would you prefer to use your charge card?
Oh, why, Mr. Stevens, a charge card, of course. Is that all right? Of course, Leroy says I shouldn't charge, but he's so old-fashioned, don't you think? I mean, there are so many nice stores that accept charge cards these days. Oh, dear, sometimes I think I shouldn't use this purse. I should have taken the green one because the strap broke, and I just couldn't have it with me. Leroy said he'd buy me another one. He's such a dear boy. Oh, dear. Oh, here it is. Stupid of me. I was looking in the wrong place the whole time.
Oh, that's all right. Come on, just step over this way.
I'm so relieved to have found it.
Well, not every sale is going to be closed quite like that. But what if Ed hadn't saved the day? Now, what if he hadn't used the skills, hadn't controlled the situation, probed, redirected? Now, of course, we don't know how it might have turned out, but Ed did make the sale. And we do know that right now, everyone is a lot happier, especially Mrs. Brown.
Oh, yes.
Let's have a seat here, and we'll be through in a minute.
Oh, Mrs. Brown, I'm sure Ed took very good care of you, didn't he?
Oh, he was adorable.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You've made an excellent choice with this car.
Oh, I'm sure I have.
By the way, about your son's van. Well, he'll want to sleep in it, I'm sure, on overnight camping trips with friends. But we're showing a new kind of carpet that would absolutely be perfect. It's called ANSO Soft Hand.
Yes.
What color did you say his van was?
Well, he's...
All right, so all your off-color comments about probing were all flagged by YouTube. They were all like, hide this, hide this, hide this. So we get it. Probing means more than just probing questions. And your son, who might want to sleep in the van, you know, on a camping trip. Hilarious. I don't have anything else in this series, I don't think. I'm gonna have to do some research to see, but that was pretty phenomenal. It's the type of thing I really like. It has some character actors in it. That older woman earlier was from Blue Velvet and was also in a bunch of TV. And just the whole thing. It's just really this weird... Well, it's not weird. It's of a time, which is no longer with us. But let's see. What do we got next? Let's learn about a new engineering material, and it's not acrylic or plastic. What if you had to guess what it was? What do you think that new engineering material is going to be? I'll give you a hint. This came from Orgone Archive, which is based in Pittsburgh. Enjoy.
This is T1 steel, the most important development in alloy steels in the past 40 years. It is more than just another steel. It has such a unique combination of properties that it may well be called a new engineering material. It has proved itself in many ways, and one of the most effective demonstrations took place in Birmingham, Alabama. The project was Operation T1. The time was June 1954. On this day, some of the nation's top-ranking authorities on steel applications saw dramatic proof that T1 was a new advance in alloy steels. The project was built around a series of pressure vessels, each made of half-inch T1 plates. Half of the vessels were stress-relieved after welding, and half were not. Each of the vessels was to be subjected to the same destructive tests, and the results were almost identical. A burst test was the first part of Operation T1. The vessel was cooled down to minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit. If T1 had any tendency to brittleness, it would certainly become evident at this extremely low temperature. With a panel set to measure every phase of temperature and pressure, the signal was given to activate the pressure pump. The test was on. When pressure reached 1875 psi, T1 already showed 3 times the yield strength of ordinary steel. But how extraordinary was it? It held at 2,000 pounds. It passed 2,500. Finally, at 2,850 psi, the vessel burst at a pressure 7.5 times the maximum now required for equipment of this kind. After such a burst, even at this frigid temperature, T1 showed no evidence of brittleness or shattering. Note the simple tear. Incredible ductility for an alloy steel having such a high strength level. Other vessels subjected to similar burst tests ruptured at about the same pressure, demonstrating the same remarkable degree of toughness. All this with a half-inch plate of T1. Had carbon steel been used, the plates would have had to be 3 times as thick to withstand that much pressure. The impact test was even more brutal and dynamic. The vessel's temperature was dropped to minus 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and its internal pressure raised to 1,875 psi. The nominal limit for T1. Here certainly were adverse conditions for meeting the colossal hammer blows in store. Suspended in the 150-foot tower was a massive weight, ready to hurtle down with devastating impact. This tub, weighing over 13 tons, was raised to a height of 52 feet for the first drop. A force of almost 1.5 million foot-pounds. Yet below the saddle there was no more than a slight dent. For its second drop, the top rose to 73 feet. A shattering impact of almost 2 million foot-pounds, and there wasn't even a leak. The distortion increased, but T1 still held. For the third drop, the top was raised to over 100 feet above the vessel. T1 had already proved its superiority. This was to be the crusher. It took almost 3 million foot-pounds to rupture the vessel. There was no question that T1 had remarkable mechanical properties. And again, the experts were surprised by the kind of rupture, an absolutely clean tear, despite the terrific impact. Here was conclusive evidence of T1's unique properties, a combination of ductility and toughness not usually expected in the same steel. A second series of tests confirmed the dramatic performance of T1 steel. The results were almost identical. Again and again, the unique combination of toughness and strength was conclusively demonstrated. When Operation T1 ended, the engineering and technical authorities present were truly amazed at what they'd seen, while to U.S. Steel, this was just another step in the research and development of T1. Prior to this demonstration, we spent years testing this material in many other applications. Behind its unique qualities are many things. First, a judicious combination of elements chosen with specific properties and the price book in mind. Carbon, held to approximately 0.15% for improved weldability. For hardenability and toughness, we found that manganese and nickel could be held to 1% maximum, and chromium to about 0.5%. Molybdenum of around 0.45% was used for depth of hardening and high temperature strength. Copper of about 0.30% was used to improve atmospheric corrosion resistance. Small amounts of vanadium made possible high tempering temperatures and improved welding. We found a little boron to be the least expensive way to further increase hardenability. And here is a typical heat analysis, with all elements falling within a fixed range to create a highly versatile steel. But to produce a steel which can take the punishment of Operation T1, two basic steps are necessary. It must be quenched and tempered. The as-rolled plate is charged into a furnace and heated to 1650 degrees Fahrenheit. It has not yet been trimmed to size, since from the side and end crop we will later obtain enough test material to be sure the high quality standards of T1 are met. After thorough heating at this temperature, the plate is water quenched to room temperature. To do this, low carbon is a must, for only with low carbon can we quench from so high a temperature with no danger of cracking. The tempering which follows is done at 1200 degrees. When necessary, the plate is flattened in the roller leveler. Both water quenching and tempering are carried out under precise time and heat controls, for it is these two phases which give T1 the structure aimed for. Low carbon, tempered martensite, the toughest microstructure in steel. Note that there is a distinct difference in the microstructure of T1 as compared with A7 carbon steel. The effects of the difference are quite impressive, especially in mechanical properties. Yield strength of A7, 33,000 psi. T1's yield strength is almost triple that, 90,000. Tensile strength of A7, 60,000 psi. T1 with 105,000 psi registers 75% higher. Next, a wonderful reversal of form. It is expected that a carbon steel like A7 will have excellent elongation, and it does, 22% for a 2-inch length. But the very properties needed to create a tensile strength over 105,000 psi are expected to cut down elongation. Yet, T1 is completely different. In a 2-inch length, its elongation is 18%, very close to conventional steels. Yes, here is a unique steel, ready for an exceptionally wide range of uses. In plate gauges ranging from 1/4 inch to 6 inches, and it comes in a full range of bar sizes. But, asks a practical engineer, what about fabrication? For example, how sensitive is T1 to cold forming? The effect of cold forming on the toughness of T1 has been carefully measured, and actual applications have confirmed the fact that T1 is less sensitive to such treatment than most steels. Doesn't flame cutting affect the edge toughness of T1? Naturally, the flame cut edge will be considerably harder than the rest of the plate, but still so tough it will show no cracks at all. What are the limits on T1's machinability? Since its introduction, T1 has been put through all the normal machining operations by its many users. Large tonnages of alloy steels have been machined at the strength level of T1 with no particular difficulties. The machining practices used on T1 should be similar to those employed on any steel of similar hardness. Now, what about welding? Where stress relieving is necessary, a 90-15 electrode will provide at least 90% joint efficiency. But usually no stress relieving is required, in which case a 120-15 electrode will give 100% joint efficiency. Of course, Operation T1 highlighted its excellent low-cost weldability. You recall that half the pressure vessels were stress relieved and half were not, yet the difference in joint strength was negligible. This and all the other remarkable qualities of T1 are more widely recognized with every passing day, and the demand for T1 is rising very rapidly. Tons of it are being shipped weekly to meet the ultimate test of any material, its practical application, and its cost compared to other usable materials. Here again, the actual record of T1 is quite eloquent. This skip car hauls coke, limestone, and ore. Steels formerly used as bottom, side plates, and bale cover lasted about 2 months. Changing to T1 increased the service to well over 7 months. Before T1, 9% of all delays on a slabbing mill were caused by failure of the chain on this scrap butt conveyor. Butt ends used to twist and break the links. Since the installation of T1 links, the mill has had practically no downtime due to link failure. The steel lips in this bucket, operating in temperatures up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, used to last 1 month. The new T1 steel lips lasted over 11 months. The pockets of this transfer car were subject to such abrasive wear that yearly replacement was required. But with T1 steel, 2 years passed and replacement still seemed far off. Here is an outstanding example of resistance to wear at high temperatures. Flue dust carried at high velocity in an air blast eroded this pipe at the elbows. Special abrasion-resisting steel patches used to last 3 to 4 weeks. T1 patches were substituted, and after 21 months, were still in excellent condition. This brawny mover of mountains is a Colby wheel, made tougher with the use of T1 at every spot where the going's really rough. The lips and teeth on these buckets, all T1, gouge out tons of overburden at every turn of the wheel. It's obvious that in such an integrated operation, any downtime is very expensive. But with T1, breakdowns are sharply reduced and overall efficiency boosted. The steel in a turbine disc must withstand high stresses at high temperatures and at speeds up to 3,600 RPM. It formerly called for very high-cost alloy steel forgings. Now, rolled T1 plate is used. The switch required no change in design, posed no fabrication problems, yet T1 cut material cost by 60%. In modern wind tunnels, tremendous forces are generated by air propelled to many times the speed of sound. At certain critical areas, it takes a really tough steel to withstand these high winds. It has been found that T1 steel is ideal for such critical areas. These flex plates must have a high degree of toughness, strength, and ductility. T1 has proved itself so superior to steels previously used that at last report, 3 modern wind tunnels all called for T1 flex plates. Matter of fact, the authorities concerned are now using T1 in other related areas. For example, these air storage tanks to be used for wind tunnel operation are drastically reduced in weight because they are made of T1 steel. These Freon gas storage tanks are also built from T1 steel. Just another example of T1's excellent application wherever exceptional qualities are needed to resist internal pressures. The use of T1 steel in mining operations is increasing by the day. These cars, like most mining equipment, are subject to a great deal of impact abuse and abrasion. And because of this severe punishment, maintenance and replacement costs are very high. The ore cars involved in this particular operation were not made of T1. But for all the replacements ordered, T1 was specified. The initial replacement cost may be slightly higher, but the ultimate savings are substantial. Many parts of these mine cars have been changed to T1 steel because of its long-run economy. These are some of the many mine cars which have proved T1's value in the field. Varied applications? Yes, indeed. Forest clearance is another field where metal is subject to all kinds of stresses, severe abrasion, and impact abuse. The blades used on this cutter are, of course, made from T1. Since the change to T1, there has been a drastic reduction in maintenance costs. This application, like the others shown so far, involved no actual change in the size of any section. But where change in size or weight is possible, the savings are even more dramatic. For example, before T1, the capacity of this mammoth shovel was 35 cubic yards, and many of its parts were made from expensive, heavy castings. With T1, the bucket, lips, bale, and dipper stick are fabricated. The life of each part is expanded. But here's the big point. The weight reductions made possible by T1 increased the bucket capacity from 35 to 45 cubic yards, added 10 additional cubic yards of payload to each single bite. At last report, the shovel, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, had moved 30 million tons of overburden with extremely low maintenance cost. Also using T1, this shovel has been operating at temperatures as low as 50 degrees below zero in the Minnesota Iron Range. Yet, despite severe stress, impact, and abrasive shock, T1 shows no signs of brittleness, not a single failure in 3 years. In contrast to this low-temperature operation, consider these ladle hooks. With T1 available, the hooks were redesigned. They were decreased in size. Visibility was improved. And because dead weight was cut down, it was possible to increase the ladle's capacity. This trailer was rebuilt with T1, and 2 very important changes took place. Its dead weight was reduced by 6,000 pounds. Even if this were the only improvement, imagine the reduction in operation and maintenance cost in a single month. To this benefit, add another. The trailer's payload was increased by 8,000 pounds. True, the initial cost of T1 was higher than the steel previously used, but it so improved the trailer's efficiency that haulage cost was drastically reduced. The same kind of economies were made possible by T1 in this lowboy semi-trailer. The structural members of the trailer bed were built from T1, and because of its superior strength, the structure was much lighter. Result? Less dead load, more payload. And the same possibilities exist in almost every field of transportation. This LPG trailer is built from T1 steel. Its payload has been increased by over 10%, and it's still within the legal highway limits. Several major companies are now using T1 to build similar LPG tank trailers, and more are bound to follow. Whether we speak of transportation or construction, the same basic problems exist. For example, this 3-lane bridge spanning California Straits of Carquinez is a vital link in one of the nation's major highways. No longer adequate to handle the increased volume of traffic, the existing bridge is to be supplemented by a new 4-lane structure very similar in design. Engineering specifications call for 2,900 tons of T1 steel to be used in those sections that are subject to the greatest tension and the greatest compression. The T1 sections, shown in red, are a part of the top chords, bottom chords, verticals, diagonals, and gusset plates. Wherever the unique properties of T1 can be used to the best advantage, this new engineering material will play an important role. It will impart to the new bridge greater strength at a reduced weight, a major step in solving the construction problem of strength-weight ratio, just as the new bridge will be a giant stride in solving the traffic problem of this area. T1's weldability. Here's another plus in any kind of field construction. Because T1 practically eliminates the need for stress relieving, field welding is perfectly feasible regardless of location or weather conditions. For example, had T1 been used in this vessel and in constructing these power plant penstocks, welding costs alone would have been reduced tremendously. The cost of stress relieving would have been completely eliminated, and a proportionate decrease in weight would have cut shipping and construction costs way, way down. Let's be more detailed with a hypothetical case, basing it on T1's new design possibilities. Suppose we're to store 25,000 barrels of volatile liquid, which must be contained at 210 psi. And conditions call for spherical storage space to be field erected. Using conventional carbon steel, a 1,000-barrel sphere is the best we can do. A larger sphere would go beyond the limits of conventional steel. Therefore, we must erect 25 vessels to provide the 25,000-barrel storage called for. This, when compared to the potentials of T1, is a tremendous waste. For the enormous strength of T1 steel is adequate to withstand the stresses of a single field-erected sphere with a capacity of 25,000 barrels. In short, with T1, we could have one large sphere do the work of 25 small ones. What could this mean in actual savings? Weight of shell material, 66% less. Shell surface area, 66% less. Cost of shell material, 14% less. Weight of manholes, fixtures, and so forth, 96% less. Weight of structural supports, 38% less. Concrete for foundation, 14% less. Lineal feet of weld seam, 70% less. Ground area covered, 84% less. And we've said nothing about reduced shipping costs, labor costs, and maintenance costs. There is no exact way to measure these items. But it's obvious that when T1 is utilized to its fullest potential, the possible economies are tremendous, and far from being purely hypothetical, it has proved itself in hundreds of applications in the field. The more far-sighted builders and designers were the first to benefit from this new advance in steels, but T1 has now reached such widespread use that even the most conservative recognize it as a versatile and lusty young giant, which can open the door to new products, improved performance, substantial economies, and give us a new freedom from the confines of conventional steel. For T1 is more than just another steel. It is a new concept in steel, a new engineering material.
I can check that gear in a minute, so don't touch anything, okay? Get down from there! Now! Hey! Turn it over! What if it bumped that control by accident? You'd be mincemeat by now. What have I told you? You don't work on equipment when the engine's running.
Well, I told him not to touch anything. All right, I guess I wasn't thinking.
You weren't thinking? You mean you'll work on engines and machinery and not think of your own personal safety? Here. Shake hands with danger.
Shake hands with danger. Meet a man you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety. Now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. I was young and feisty, never did things by the book. Just let me get my toolbox and I'll take myself a look. I climbed up on a dozier with my mechanic's pride. Said, you can keep it running, friend, while I poke around inside. Shake hands with danger, meet a guy you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. Although I learned a lesson, I forgot it soon enough. The nicks and burns and scratches showed the young ones I was tough. Till another morning I was grinding on some steel. My other hand got careless and fed my skin into the wheel. Shake hands with danger, step right up and say hello. Grinding wheels and metal are what made me Three-Fingered Joe. I've seen mechanics burning and I've seen them take a fall just to save themselves a minute. I've seen them lose it all. I've watched them courting trouble, seen them take a chance and lose. They get careless for a moment and spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with some friends I used to know. Compared to them, I'm lucky to be just Three-Fingered Joe.
Yes, some of you did call it. And it wasn't just because of the all the construction equipment we saw and all the industrial explosions that we saw. It was because of the giant hammer that U.S. Steel used to beat you over the head to make you buy T1 steel. In the comments, you definitely were like, "We get it, all right, we get it." But yeah, this one just, I can imagine that when this was shown, that whoever was being shown to was like, "Oh my God, like, all right." When is this going to be over so we can have our delicious steak dinner and cocktails? Yeah, that was a lot. But, they had this idea, and I'm sure they spent lots of money developing it, and they were pushing it hard. So I mentioned Pittsburgh. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh next week for a film conference, the EMEA conference, which is the Association of Moving Image Archivists conference, which is taking place in Pittsburgh. And I probably won't be broadcasting there, but I will be trying to bring in some of my friends, my fellow archivists, to do little blip intros, interviews between films. Because during the conference, it's very busy, and it's normally during the lunchtime show that I would be in a panel or a presentation or some sort of workshop. So we'll probably be almost all recorded next week, except for Monday, which I'll still be here. But thanks for tuning in today. A wide variety of different things that we saw. As always, I certainly get into this. I dig it. Tickles my brain. And I'm going to, like I said, actively try to find the Form and Formula film that we showed, the silent one at the beginning. But if you like what you saw, consider buying us some coffee. Go into ko-fi.com/avgeeks or go into patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to reward us and to pay for our expense going to Pittsburgh next week and all the coffee we're going to buy at Starbucks. You can hit the like or the thumbs up button. That's another great way to support us without spending any money. Even if you've done it in the past, please hit like. It's a great way to tell the computers that we're benevolent. If you're interested in seeing more stuff of ours, you can go to our avgeeks.com channel, and we have a 24/7 channel that's going, showing previous lunch shows and other things that we've digitized over the years. So thanks again for everybody for tuning in. As always, please rewind and love each other. And we will see you tomorrow.